voted to approve a resolution in support of the school bond. That was put out in a press release recently, and so many of you may be saying, well, why are we here today? What's the story? Well, the story is that shortly after we put that press release out and that resolution was passed, we had a number of business leaders within our community call us to say, thank you for stepping up to the plate. We feel like this is an important issue. We want to express our support of the Chamber's decision and the school bond itself. And that is where this grew out of. I'm just going to let that fly. I'll chase it down later. But I would like to introduce a few of our leaders here today. We have 3 of our school board members. Mr. Jay Isaacs is here. Karen Nicholson is with us. And Angel Hernandez, since my paper flew away. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I knew if I chased it, it would fly off. So, but we decided, once these leaders started calling us and saying, we're really excited about this step that the Chamber has taken, we said, let's gather you together. Let's get these leaders in front of our community, in front of our media, to express your support, and that's exactly what we've done here today. So at this time, if you'll help me welcome our first speaker, Mr. Paul Kane, the owner of InWest Retirement Solutions.
A little too short for me. Well, isn't it a great day to be alive and live in the middle of Texas? Is this not Chamber of Commerce weather? I mean, drive downtown, windows down, hair blowing in the wind. It's nothing better, right? Fantastic. Thank you, Nelwyn. Hey, we got a big decision to make as a community coming up here pretty quick. You know, when I was the past chair of the Midland Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, that year we changed our mission statement. And the mission statement became creating the best business climate on the planet. Okay? Well, our leadership, our board of directors, by the resolution Nelwyn just mentioned, is saying that we can't do that. We can't accomplish our mission as an organization. We can't certainly sustain the kind of economic miracle that we're having in our community right now without having the best educational system on the planet. Would you agree? Absolutely. But as a business owner, it took more than that for me, right? And so I had to have a lot of talks with Superintendent Dr. Warren, Dr. Ryder Warren, and learn about, okay, is this more than just bricks and mortar? And actually, the school district has a 4-point plan to improving our schools. It's not just about bricks and mortar. It's about having the best teachers, okay? Paying them the best, giving them the best benefits, and recruiting them statewide to come to Midland. That's important. It's about surrounding those teachers with the best programs available, giving them the best tools. I can relate to that as a business owner. I want the best people, and I want to give them the best tools. It's about making a voice heard in Austin that as a state, we're not going in the right direction when it comes to public ed on a variety of levels, whether it be public school finance, the way we assess performance of our kids. We've got a lot of changes, and we need a lot of voices in Austin. Hopefully leaders here today can be part of that. And the last piece of the plan is a long-term strategic plan for our facilities. You know, we built our last elementary school in Midland 20 years ago. It'll celebrate its 20th anniversary this year, and that's Great House Elementary. And since that time, we all know that Midland has experienced a little bit of growth, right? Just a tad bit. But we've experienced tremendous growth. To give you an idea, just since the end of May of last year when school closed to when we started today, or started this school year, we grew 1,000 kids in the district. And most of those kids were elementary school age kids. So the way to put that in your head is to think that the population has grown, the school population has grown by almost an entire elementary school from May to the beginning of the year. So we definitely have a growing school population. That we all know. But what do we know about our campuses right now? Well, right now we've got about 80 portable buildings. We've got 2 campuses full of portable buildings in our elementary schools. Okay? And we have teacher to student ratios that are out of line. I mean, we just applied, I think, for 106 waivers from the state of Texas to bring us into compliance with the mandated 22-to-1 teacher to student ratio. So there's definitely a need. I think we all can drive around town and we can see the need for facilities. Well, the other thing is, as a business owner, I'm physically conservative. So it took more than that to convince me to support this. But I did also have the blessing to have a father that taught me the difference between spending money and investing money. And as a community, he taught me that a community could invest money no better way than in the education of its population. So all of those things led to me as a business owner standing before you here today in support of our bond coming up in November. And now the personal side. As a lifelong Midlander, I want to hit on that because that's what really gets me going. You know, my family moved here in 1920, and there's 6 generations of my family that have lived in Midland County. And I love to brag on my community at every opportunity. And when I get somebody new to come into Midland, I go around town and I show them the crown jewels. You know what that is? Here's the crown jewels in Paul Kane's mind. I pick them up at the airport, which is going to soon be a spaceport. Can you believe that? Meet George Jetson, right? Spaceport. Pick them up there, show them the airplane hanging above the baggage claim area. I said, that's the first airplane flown in the state of Texas, built by a blacksmith in Midland, Texas. We get in the car, we drive down the road, and we go to the Performing Arts Center, and we say, wow, what a partnership it took between 2 communities that might spit at each other on Friday night to come together and put together that beautiful facility out there for our performing arts. I take them by the sports complex. And usually the first remark I get is, wow, my college football stadium isn't that nice. My AAA baseball stadium isn't that nice. I take them over to Midland College and I drive through the beautiful campus there and I tell them, you know, if you graduate from a public school in Midland, Texas, Midland County, that you can get 2 years of tuition and fee-free education at Midland College. Normally at this point, they're like, Paul, you're making this stuff up. And I'm like, no, we'll go check it out on the web and I'll prove it to you. But the Legacy Scholarship, how many communities offer that to our students? Not many. I take them down to the hospital. We can see that thing almost from here today, right? Beautiful, $175 million hospital tower. But what I really love about it as a community member is that we raised $60 million of that privately. Folks, that didn't happen anywhere else but in Midland. And my point in telling you about the crown jewels is that our public schools right now, I don't take anybody by those schools right now, okay? Not at this time. Because I don't believe that those schools represent what we believe in as a community. All those other facilities, they are a reflection of our values as a community. Whether it be transportation and our value of that, whether it be health care, you name it, those are testaments to what our community values. Our public schools are not there. And Midland hasn't always been that way. Growing up here, if you were to strip off 30, 40 years of history off of our facilities, we had some of the very best educational facilities in the state of Texas here in Midland. And I think we need to go that direction. That's the reason I'm supporting the bond. You know, growing up in Midland, behind me I'm seeing it, we all always called ourselves the Tall City. And my dad told me that Tall City really didn't have so much to do with the cityscape, but it had to do with people's attitudes out here. They insisted on excellence. They didn't settle for second best. Midlanders lead the world. Well, I put it to you today, it's time for all of us, because facilities in public schools are on every one of us. We can't point fingers at blame in Austin or Washington, D.C. We own it as a community. And is that a reflection of why we value education in our community today? That's the question I'll ask you. Thank you for your time. God bless you all. Bye-bye. Oh, wow. I'm sorry, I skipped a step in the agenda. And now, we have Mitch Mamalides with Chevron, who will come up and have a visit with us.
Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate the introduction. My name is Mitch Mamalides. I'm with Chevron. I'm our permanent South Area Manager here. Paul and I have many similarities, and there are some differences. The first I'd point out is that when I drive through town with the windows down and my hair blowing in the wind, I don't have as much as I once had, but it is blowing in the wind. Another of our differences, I should say, is I was not born in Midland. But this is the third time I've lived here. My family's been back for 5 years. We've been here 3 times. So I have the personal experience of moving in and out of this community. And as our area manager, we've got 450 employees here. We have more than that, actually, in the Permian Basin and in Midland. That's just in the building here in town. We move a lot of people in and out. And having a good school system is paramount to our ability to attract and retain talent. There is a lot of competition for people, in our industry especially. And if you don't have good schools, you really struggle to get people to come in. At a real local level, when we move in, one of the things we look at is the schools in the neighborhood from the standpoint of resale value of your home. I would tell you a community is enriched with good education for its citizens. They individually will prosper. We've seen study after study, the higher education, the more take-home pay you will have. Well, the other aspect that ties is that the better your education system, the more valuable your home is when it comes time to sell. So those of us that work for majors, that move in and out of places, we look for good schools. That's where we want to be because we know those homes hold their value better than others. The Permian Basin is the #1 oil-producing region in this country. And sometimes I actually find people here that they know we're busy, but they don't grasp the significance of how far above and beyond every other oil region in this country we are. The Permian Basin makes more oil on a daily basis than the next 2 states combined, which is now North Dakota and California. Every day we make over 1 million barrels of oil a day right out of the Permian Basin. The whole U.S. only makes 6 million. I know there's been questions about activity level. And Scott in a minute I think is going to talk a little bit more about activity level and what's going on there. But I would tell you this, that there's been enough activity. We've been here for 85 years. We've seen production now going back up in the Permian Basin for the last several years. That 1 million barrels a day, plus our gas production, is already there. It's going to continue producing for decades and decades and decades, even if there weren't any drilling rigs running tomorrow. And frankly, that production and the reserves in the ground, that's the tax base. That's not going away. That's not dependent upon activity. As a region in this country that is so important to oil and gas and energy, we have exported technology and people all over the globe. Permian Basin has 1/4 of all the wells that produce in the whole U.S. This is where people come to learn about the oil and gas business. We need to have a school system that reflects the excellence that the Permian Basin holds, certainly in my industry, in oil and gas. And one of the things that really was convicting to me when you start looking at the data, you look at the 36 communities in Texas that are of our same valuation. And out of all 36, the 2 that spend the least on the schools are Midland and Odessa. And that's not where we want to be. That's not where we need to be. There are people in this community, leaders of this community, that invested in schools through the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And we haven't done much since then, frankly. Somebody built the schools that each of us attended, and frankly, we've got a responsibility to provide schools for our kids today and the future. So I hope you will join me in this support. Thank you. And I now have the pleasure of introducing Cynthia Morales-Mays. I've known Cynthia for quite a number of years, and Cynthia will give you a different perspective because Cynthia is owner of a small business. So Cynthia?
Thank you, Mitch. Good afternoon. Cynthia Morales-Mays, and a board member of the Midland Chamber, and I feel privileged to be asked to share my personal thoughts with you about the upcoming MISD bond. Midland is my home. Yeah, I was born here. I was raised here. I attended public schools here, Alamo, Lee freshman, and a proud graduate of Lee High School. I have two brothers, one that's in attendance here today, Jerry Morales, your at-large city councilman. Both he and my other brother, Novert, who is a lawyer and lives in Austin, also attended public schools and are graduates of Lee High. We were good students back then, involved in extracurricular activities like student council, Rebelettes, sports. Both boys played on baseball teams and football teams. You know, school was really fun. We had a great time. Schools were good. We had excellent teachers. You know, textbooks were current. Yeah, we had a lot of great memories. Everything we needed to make us the best students that we could be in the late 70s and early 80s. I'm proud to say that we three, my brothers and I, are small business owners who combined together employ approximately about 100 employees. Along with great supportive parents, I credit MISD for giving us the education that we needed to become successful, productive citizens today. We went to school during an unplugged era. During that time, you know, we didn't know what iPhones, iPads, iPods were. We didn't even have computers in our classrooms. That technology was all foreign to us. You know, I had a thing called a typewriter that I learned how to type on. And it was a good skill. Two of my high school teachers that I will never forget, Mrs. Kissinger, who passed away last week, and Mrs. Kaysen taught me how to type. They were the best. They could do a good job because there was a venue for personal attention, meeting the needs of each one of us students. You see, the ratio was like 20-1. Portable buildings, overcrowded classrooms, those were issues that we didn't need to worry about. We didn't even think about that. Why? Because the student-teacher population was perfect for that day and time. Good enough for people like myself, my brothers, and our friends. Not anymore. We're in a different era now. We're in a different generation. We're in a different time. And yet, much of MISD is still back in the day of the 70s and the 80s. I know, because not only was I a student, but I was also a teacher in MISD. When I graduated from college, I chose to return back to Midland to teach. I love this community so much, and it was a good place to live, and I wanted to be able to influence the formative years of 3rd and 4th graders. You know, give back to my community in the best way that I could. Interestingly enough, as a teacher in the early 90s, I, along with my colleagues, were already getting frustrated because of the daily challenges that we faced. Problems like overcrowding, way too many portables, and lack of technology. We could not properly engage in the one thing that we love to do, and that was teach. We still have those problems today. A few years of teaching, I became a bilingual specialist in MISD, so I moved from the classroom to central office. And my job exposed me to go to all the campuses and to meet with the different bilingual teachers, which allowed me to see the facilities. So again, I got another perspective of how poor really our facilities were. Yeah, the teachers were continuing to be challenged in many situations and not teaching effectively. Folks, We are facing a huge problem in our schools, and it's getting bigger and it's getting worse. I've come full circle with MISD. I was a student, I was a teacher, and now a parent. My son is in 3rd grade in MISD school, and I, as a parent, exceptionally concerned about what he might face. I'm aware of the lack of technology, the lack of resources, and the lack of being able to recruit quality teachers. I have very good friends and family members who are administrators, principals, teachers, aides, secretaries, cafeteria workers, custodial, and I hear about the overcrowding from them. I hear about the frustrations that the teachers are still facing today. There aren't enough teachers. The facilities are deteriorating. On and on and on. Same story. We live in a great city, and I am so proud to be called a Midlander. I hear that when new families come to Midland, once they've gotten used to, our city, we don't have all the great things that the Metroplex has in San Antonio and all of that, but we are a great community. And I hear them say that the reason they want to stay is because of the great community-minded attitudes that we all have. I'm concerned, and you should be too. I urge you, please go see for yourself. Go into those facilities. Go see the problems that our schools have. In order to be a better tomorrow, we need a better today. I want Midland to be the best, that includes having the best school district, to make students the best that they can be for a better Midland. Please vote yes for the school bond. Thank you. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing you to Mr. Scott Sheffield, President and CEO of Pioneer Natural Gas Resources.
Thank you, Cynthia and Paul and Mitch. It's good to see Chevron coming back full force into town. Our company, Pioneer, was built on buy-in from the major oil companies back in the 80s and 90s when they left. And we were able to build a tremendous resource of close to 1 million acres just surrounds Midland, Texas. Pioneer, most of y'all know, is the largest private sector employer in town with over 1,000 employees. We're growing at about 150 to 200 employees per year. We're running 35 to 40 rigs. We estimate we could be up to 50 to 60 rigs over the next 2 to 3, 4 years, just in the surrounding counties around Midland. We are the largest taxpayer in Midland and the largest taxpayer to MISD. This bond issue is very, very important to our 1,000 employees, also to Pioneer. We'll be spending another on taxes because of it, close to $500,000 per year. But that's nothing what we're adding and the importance of adding a great school system. The teachers, for the kids, I put through 5 kids through Midland High School. I know how important it is. To me, this is just the first step. I commented on the fact that earlier in a speech several months ago that this city's on its way to 150 to 200,000 people. I truly believe it. This is not a typical boom and bust cycle. As Mitch said, we have 500 rigs running in the Permian Basin. That's over almost 30% of the rig count in the U.S. And you have a source rock called the Wolfcamp that's in the Midland and Delaware Basin. That's over 2,000 feet thick. It'll be 3 to 4 to 5 times as big as the Eagle Ford and the Bakken. It'll be drilled for the next 50 to 75 to 100 years in this town. It'll support the tax base for Midland for a long time to come. Just this one interval. And it's very, very important to have a sound school system, have great schools, great teachers, lower the teacher-student ratio. As I heard the superintendent talk at lunch today, that's very, very important. But you got to start with this bond program in the schools. So we're very, very supportive of it. And this is, as I mentioned, this cycle, if you see a bust, if it drops $15 to $20, the cycle is still going to continue. As I pointed out at lunchtime in a speech in 2009, we had the second greatest recession since the Great Depression, 1928. Oil prices came back quickly. There's a reason oil prices are going to stay long for a long time. They may not be 100, they may be 75 or 80, but that's not going to really detract from this cycle. And people are not exploring. We know that the oil's there, the technology has changed. It's a process of managing the margins and the cycle. So don't let the boom-bust cycle sway the people that are against this bond issue. It's going to be here for a long time. Midland needs to plan for 100